Hello and welcome to the Blue Pencil section. This is where we take a look at your pages and offer you our thoughts and feedback. I have with me today my colleague Crystal and I am Eileen. And this was kind of exciting for me because we were taking a look at a picture book, which is something that I don't get to do very often. So I will be deferring to my picture book expert, Crystal. And we are taking a look at a piece by Mary Jane Muir called Ellie's Halloween Party. So I'm going to start off by talking about just sort of the big picture stuff. So again, I don't read a lot of picture books and I don't write picture books. But one of the things that captured me right off the bat is the imagery that is in here. So there's things like Ellie takes off like a rocket, flies to the moon and turns it orange. She opens up her closet and turns socks into black cats and woolly hats into flying bats. Like, I loved the sound and the cadence of that. Like, I could actually imagine reading it out loud. Some of the things that definitely gave me nightmares, but which was lovely, was serving refreshments of slug soup with green sour cream and freshly toasted spider sandwiches, green macaroni with orange cheese, and fresh slimy slug cupcakes with dead bug sprinkles. I just defy anyone to not read that and just sort of see all this sort of very fun premise happening in these images. So I could see it 100%. My biggest question, and I'm actually going to tip this over to Crystal, I wasn't sure that it was a story in the sense that the character Ellie doesn't have something that she's wanting, that she's sort of pursuing. It's sort of her arranging this party and then the party happening. So there's not really sort of a conflict that's interceding with that. So how important is that in a picture book?
I think at picture book level, it is really important. If you're looking at a board book and the premise is really to teach shape or texture or color or something like that, that's very different than an actual picture book that is meant to be something you're going to read hundreds of times. But you know, one of the really important things to always keep in mind if you are doing picture books is that just because it's short doesn't mean we get to skip those pieces. And the most engaging ones, the biggest sort of draw, the ones you're going to read hundreds and hundreds of times, are the ones that do have some kind of a problem still, or some sort of character change that happens over the course of the book. So thinking about what is the conflict here? Like, what is it that Ellie wants? Does she want to have a Halloween party, but nobody is friends with her? And so she does this whole elaborate thing with her magic bits and pieces. It's not clear why this is, why the actual story piece is here. So it's absolutely beautiful. You have, as Eileen said, you've nailed the language. Everything is at like the perfect level in terms of your word choice, and your sentence links are great, and the images are completely compelling. Like, you get all these super fun things that just dance around in your mind when you're reading the words. So I think you're like 86% of the way there, but you want to find a way to tweak it so that there is something that she's solving by using her magic to throw this party, or something that changes for her from the beginning to the end. But we do still need some kind of an arc for that character, because that is what will just grab people into the story and keep them there. For the adults who are going to read it 400 times, as well as the kids who are going to have it be read to them. And that will also give your illustrator some more work as well in terms of what's coming into it. Now, I will put a caveat on that, because I know you are also an illustrator, and you may have, like, often there's a sort of a sub-story that's going on in the background that we don't see with the words. And so I would suggest, if there is that, an interesting exercise might be to actually take this and break it out into your 32-page structure. So picture books are going to be 32 pages if they're done through the traditional publishing world, because that is a full signature, which is 16 pages times 2. So that includes front and back matter and everything else. But actually taking your story and breaking it out so that you can see which chunk of text would be on each 2-page spread is a very good way to kind of check for what action is happening on each page in terms of the pacing of your story. And it also helps to identify if you find the picture would be the same or very similar to illustrate like 3 of those chunks of text, then you've got a bit of an issue with pacing or with your conflict or with what's actually happening with your action in there. Because you need to make sure that you're going to have enough visual variety to carry for those like 32 pages or 16 spreads, or, you know, however you break that down. You want to have at least probably 14 spreads worth of stuff, and that leaves a little bit of room for front and back matter as well. So make sure you have enough going on, not just the sort of bits and pieces of what she's doing or changing, but that there's enough actual action taking place as well, that you can have that variety over that length of time. And this is shorter, I think, than it needs to be. 600 words to 1,000 words, depending on what level of picture book you're targeting, is a decent length. They've been trending down for sure in terms of word count over the last few years, but often you start with a little bit more words and then pare those down once the illustrations are done, and you see what's been communicated through the a good exercise as well. But just breaking it down and making notes for yourself of what you see in the illustrations to go with each of the chunks of text will likely help you identify where you could add bits and pieces or make adjustments to make that fit.
I think it might be interesting, and allow me to just hijack your story, is if Ellie has invited a human friend to this party. Like, you know, she's gone to all this trouble and fuss and muss, and, you know, she has someone coming to her party who doesn't want freshly toasted spider sandwiches, things like that. Because I would put myself onto that kind of thing. So there may be something to sort of play, or she shows up at a human party with these kind of sandwiches, and, you know, she's trying to make friends with the humans. Might be a way to sort of play with that fish out of water thing. But it's definitely, I love the imagery, and I'll be interested to see how you end up twisting it. So until then, if anyone else has a whole book they would like us to look at, if they've had her in a picture book, or at least a section of your project, short story, memoir, or other, we would be happy to do it. And until then, we look forward to seeing you all around the Creative Academy. Take care, and bye-bye.